what I have down here, and you guys are absolutely right. Everything that you said in terms of what they need, absolutely crucial. And then what can go wrong. I mean, we all know what can go wrong because we have either experienced it or we see it. And I think I know there isn't a person in this room that doesn't care deeply for their kids and want them to grow up to be healthy adults. So I just put down a couple of things that psychologists have discovered, as they've done research and looked at child development. The first one is that what nurture occurs between the ages of birth to 5 is the most crucial. So in other words, what parents do from birth to age 5, that's like a high development era of time. And the window is wide open, and they are like sponges, like somebody mentioned earlier, and this is where crucial nurture must occur. Because if you look at number 2, if the right nurture and development does not occur during that window of opportunity, then the window closes. And it becomes very difficult to recover from any lack of nurture or nurture, basically.
Can't teach an old dog new tricks type of thing.
Yes. And that's actually, it's a psychological phenomenon, but basically there's this window that's open and we pour into them, and we nurture them. And that window, as they grow and mature and start to develop, that window closes. So about the age of 5, it's difficult to recover. You can't recover. You can, but it takes an incredible amount of work. And there's no guarantees.
Right.
So basically, by the age of 5,
yes,
your child is already developed,
yes, emotionally,
set in place.
and
yes,
their discipline and everything.
Yes, yes, crucial period of time. And so what I put here for number 3, and we're going to talk a little bit about what to do during that period of time and how we can recover if we've missed some steps. But the third thing I wanted to point out is that raising healthy children really does take a committed father and mother. Now, ideally that they would be together, but if not, it's okay. But having both committed to that child is crucial. They need both. They learn from their mother, like little girls learn how to be a woman, for example. Fathers teach the value of the little girls or of women, and they need their little girls need their father to know that they're loved and valued. Boys need to know how to become a man, you know what I'm saying? So it's really, both pieces are key. And so of course what we always suggest is if there isn't a father or a mother present, that we find another adult that can fill that role, grandpa, uncle, friend, things like that. But just important to know. And you said that, all of the other parent is involved, right? Okay. So what I want to do is I'm gonna share something with you that's there's a psychologist by the name of Erik Erikson, and he came up with this theory, stages of psychological or psychosocial development. This is the emotional development, the stages that occur for children as they're developing emotionally. And I'm going to briefly go over it with you, and then we're just going to focus on the first 4 stages. But basically from infant to 18 months old, first 18 months, this is when a child develops trust or mistrust. Now you often hear when kids are older or adults, they say, I have trust issues. It goes all the way back to when they were a baby, and if the right nurture occurred at that time for them to develop trust. Okay, and if it doesn't occur, like for example, you have a baby who is not in a functional home and they're left to cry, nobody attends to them, they you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Then of course they develop a mistrust in their psychosocial part of them, and not trust. So that's the example.
So it's like a subconscious thing inside the baby. Yes. They subconsciously remember that they were
something they can't
mistreated, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. It damages them.
So like if you play peekaboo with them, you should probably make sure you do the boo part.
Follow through.
Yeah,
right?
Follow through with it.
Or hide and seek.
Yeah.
Find them.
Yeah.
Come back and find
them.
Don't just watch TV while they hide.
Yes. My one of my sons that we adopted, he was abandoned. He and his brother were abandoned by their mother, but my younger one, Matthew, he was, from birth, his mother was not around, and so as a result, he's struggling to trust people.
Is it
That's just an
especially
example.
women or just everybody?
That's a good question, and I would say no. He struggles to trust anybody. Okay, so that's the most crucial, is that's when they develop trust. The second one, 18 months to 3 years, that's when they develop autonomy, meaning I can do something. I can do it by myself. I don't need somebody always helping me. Because if they don't develop that autonomy, like I can do this, then they develop what's called shame or doubt. They begin to doubt themselves. It's like that low self-image. They feel shame because why can't I do this? Everybody else is able to do this. So, and that's from 18 months to 3 years old when they develop the sense of autonomy. I can do something, okay? And then if you look 3 to 5 years, that's where they develop initiative, meaning they take initiative to try something and not be afraid to fail, okay? And the opposite of that is guilt,
So that's when they start climbing on stuff and like climbing up trees and falling off.
Taking
and being
risks.
Like, that hurt. Probably shouldn't do that again.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at 5 to 13, this is where they develop a sense of industry. That means hard work. I can create, I can make, I can solve problems, and the opposite of that is inferiority. I'm inferior, I'm worthless, I can't do anything right, that kind of thing. So it's during these crucial years that they're developing either this positive psychosocial characteristic or negative. And parents, of course, have the biggest role in helping them develop the positive side. And then we're just going to look at the others real quick just for future. But 13 to 21, and you referenced this earlier, this is when they develop their identity. Who am I? As opposed to role confusion. Am I a girl? Am I a boy? Do I like boys? Do I like girls? Am I emo? Am I an athlete? What is my role? What is my purpose? Who am I, basically? And so you see, and you talk about the kids today, and a lot of them are just running around because they've lacked all the proper nurture and developing the positive skill side. They're all confused, right? And they don't have a strong sense of who they are because they don't have the support. And as we're reading through these, you might even be thinking about yourselves and thinking, gosh, did I miss some of this? Is this why I might struggle with this?
At infant still.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You're not alone. You're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got the right side on all of these.
Uh-huh.
The right side's the bad side, right?
And no, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just who we are. It's just
what to be worked on.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. But you can see why parents are struggling to raise their kids because they're still suffering from the right side, as you say, But the reason I share this with us is so that it can open our eyes and we can say, oh, now I see I see what I need to do with my kids, and in a future workshop that we're going to do, we're going to talk about how we can recover ourselves. So if you look at 21 to 30, and this is beyond children, but this is where you develop either intimacy or isolation, because at this crucial time we're looking for companions, we're looking for a partner, we're looking for intimacy with another adult, right? And when we don't find that, we become isolated, and it becomes, and in many cases, that's very sad, because people want companionship.
Well, we're human. We have to have
Yes, exactly. That we're built that way. Yeah. And then 40 to 65, generativity. That's kind of a big word, but basically what it means is we find our meaning in our work, and we find purpose in life. Okay, and the opposite of that is stagnation, which basically means we just feel no purpose. We're just kind of stagnant. We just kind of sit there and do nothing. For a period of time, we don't have any work that we feel like we are contributing, that kind of thing. And then the last one, 65 and older, it says ego integrity. That's where people begin to look back on their life and say, look what I've accomplished, look what I've done, I had a purpose, as opposed to despair, because you realize you're at the end of your life and I have done nothing with it. You see what I'm saying?
Is it possible to be on the right side of 65 at 21? No.
But the good news is how old are you, 21?
No, I'm 28, turning 29.
Okay, so you're 28, you have several years
Yeah.
to figure that out, yeah. Okay, so does this make sense?
Yes. It does.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to look at just the first 4 periods. What can we do during these ages? And these are just some quick things to think about. But from 0 to 18 months with your child, that's when you're building trust. So parents at this time have to attend to their child's needs, providing food, shelter, sustenance, whatever they need, making sure that they constantly feel comfortable and secure. You know, we hold them, we love on them, we feed them. They cry because they don't talk. So at this age,
Right.
really, so that the way they communicate, I'm in need, is they cry. I'm cold, I'm hungry, whatever. And so,
Shouldn't you be hitting them with a lot of brain stimulation during that time too? Like
absolutely,
little
because it's
games
what
and
they
things
need.
like that,
Yeah.
They develop their
Yes. And the biggest thing for at that crucial age is eye-to-eye contact and just talking to them, playing with them, you know, simple stuff. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, just time. Yeah. The second one, 18 months to 3 years, when they begin to move into this time, this is where they develop the sense of autonomy. And we, at this time, teach them self-care, you know, feed yourself, dress yourself. Because a lot of times a mistake that parents make is they just continue to dress them.
Mhm.
They continue to feed, here, let me feed you, or whatever. Right, not right, is it?
Nope.
And then they begin to think like, what, am I dumb? Can I not do this by myself? And the hard part is, as parents, we get, we're pressed for time. Come on, let me just hurry up and feed you, or let me just hurry up and, but when we do that, we're not teaching them a sense of autonomy. Would you agree?
No, I completely agree. I wake up
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock and I get them up, they
Uh-huh.
shower, eat,
Uh-huh.
dress themselves, and then they go to daycare.
Perfect.
And then I go to work.
So that's good. So you're building that sense of autonomy in them, that they can do this, that I don't need, I have a sense of self-worth.
Exactly.
Right.
Independent. Or
Right.
they're independent.
Right.
Some sort.
Exactly. In fact, my husband and I talk about how our main goal for our kids is that they move out of the house. As soon as they're born, our goal, you're moving out of this house. You're going to take care of yourself and you're going to be independent. Right.
Self-serving.
Right.
So you don't want them to be fully independent, but you want them to have independent tendencies.
They should be independent, but just at age appropriate, with age appropriate things. Right. So we don't let our 3-year-old go and cook macaroni and cheese because they might burn themselves on the stove, but they can, well, that's art.
Cheese.
But they can get a box of cereal maybe and pour some, maybe not a 3-year-old, but you get what I'm saying,
Yeah.
age appropriate. Go ahead.
My 4-year-old likes to cook his own eggs.
Excellent.
He has a little stool and he just stands there.
Excellent.
My
So
3-year-old's not allowed to, but my 4-year-old will do
okay,
it.
so it's age appropriate, and also children are all different too. Because you may have some that are a little bit more capable than others, but good, so you're teaching them those skills.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, the next stage here is 3 to 5 years initiative. And that's where we need to give them, be very intentional about giving them opportunities to explore, to try new things, to create, and feel, and have them feel safe to ask for help when they get stuck. Because often a mistake we make is we always try to jump in and save. We need to let them just kind of, and then when they get to the point where they're frustrated, then they can feel comfortable coming to us and say, can you help? Then we step in and help. A lot of times we try to help and they're like, stop, no, I can do it. We need to just let them wait and ask us when they're ready. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that creates in them a sense of initiative. Do you know kids, or maybe you've struggled with this themselves, afraid to try? Afraid to, just fear? Or do you see it in kids?
I see it all in a lot of my friends' kids. I call them my nieces and nephews, but I see it in a lot of them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
some of them don't have the best
Yeah.
guidance and stuff, so.
Right. Speaking of guidance, one of the things that we have to do as parents, you know, when they are like the autonomy, when they're doing things independently or when they're taking initiative, trying new things, we have to constantly be saying, I like that you're taking initiative. I like that you're trying new things. Good job. Oh, you struggled with this, but at least you tried constantly.
Right.
Like you said, positive reinforcement, their effort, you know.
That doesn't go unnoticed.
Right, exactly. Because that will coach them and keep them going
Right, it's
And-
motivation.
and help them feel safe to fail, right? In fact, that brings me to the next one. From 5 to 13 years, that's when they develop industry, that sense of work ethic. We want to give them lots of opportunities to complete tasks and goals, which will really build their self-confidence. Because if you set a goal with a child and they see that they've accomplished it, then their self-confidence goes up.
Lemonade stands.
Yes. And and then we have to at the same time teach them to learn from their failures. Like when they fail or something doesn't work out, we don't berate them. Or do you have something to say?
No, I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Okay. Because if we teach them that if we always say you're a failure, you did it wrong, that didn't work, and have that kind of demeanor, then they begin to internalize that and say, okay, I'm a failure. Right, and they begin to identify with I'm a failure, and then they don't try.
I'm not gonna do it right anyways, might as well
Right.
just not do it.
Right, they give up. And life is a struggle, as we all know, and in order to become successful, independent adults, they need those qualities where they're not afraid to try, they're not afraid to work hard, and they learn from their mistakes. You know, and failures. I've had 1,000 failures in my life. If I let those define me, I'd be in a puddle over there in the corner, you know.
I'd be in a lake just crying still.
So what are your thoughts just on this particular part right here? Does this make sense? Can you share some examples of maybe how you're doing this with your kids now? Does it give you any ideas as to what you can add to what you're already doing? You don't know what to say? Well, I asked 3 questions at one time. It probably wasn't right. Okay, let me ask you this. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Does it make sense to you and you?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I can't really answer that question because I don't really have it.
But it makes sense. You
Yeah,
can see it.
It
Okay.
makes perfect sense.
Okay, so the second question is, can you give an example of something maybe you do with your own children? For example, you gave the example of your kids getting up, showering, fixing their own
Scheduled.
a
They know
schedule.
their schedules.
Yeah, and they follow them.
Yes.
Right, and so you're teaching them that sense of autonomy.
Yeah, well, it's mostly because I'm trying to teach them the basics of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
Routine.
Mm-hmm.
Like my son, he has his own chores. He takes the trash out.
Perfect, and he's only 4 years old. That's excellent.
He'll help me do yard work. Like I'll cut the tree branches down, and
Mm-hmm.
he has his own little cutters, and he'll cut the little ones off, and
Perfect.
he'll just go stack them up. You know,
Perfect.
they both do it. She rakes,
Yeah.
tries to, falls over with the rake, but
But you let her, and that's important because here's a little thing I read in a book one time that after World War II, before World War II, kids had to contribute to keep the family going. They worked on the farms. They had to do chores.
Red pail, yeah.
Yes. After World War II, there was not that need anymore, and then with the onset of the television, kids would come to their mom, "Can I help cook or whatever?" And she'd say, "No, I got it. Go watch TV." So after World War II, from that point on, kids were just relegated to the TV, and they didn't have to contribute anymore. And so now we have these kids growing up that
Antisocial
Have
programming.
iPhones at the age of 3.
right,
That's what I was talking about earlier.
right,
Oh, I don't even have a TV in my living room. They're
Right.
not allowed to have one.
One
okay,
struggle for me that I face with my daughter, and it's not every day, but
Mhm.
every week.
yeah,
She goes to her dad's on the weekends.
Mhm.
Sometimes every weekend, sometimes
Uh-huh.
every other weekend.
uh-huh,
But I discipline her at home. She has her routine, her chores,
Right.
everything. We do everything. It's just me and her, so we have a routine.
mhm,
Then she goes to her dad's,
Yeah.
and he has no routine, no discipline.
Yeah.
His mom gives her whatever she wants. She
Right.
doesn't make her eat like real
Right.
food.
mhm.
And then she comes back home, and it's like I have to retrain her,
Right.
and
That's
a
hard.
hassle.
Just took the words out of my mouth.
It's
Yeah.
just like,
We have week
what?
off,
Same
week off.
What are you trying to
situation?
do in that
Same situation?
Yeah, except we're week on, week off.
Okay.
So
Mm,
So that's why I asked at the beginning if you had good working relationship with your
Not-
with their not to-
no.
good
Not to get on
communication, but not.
not to get on the
Sometimes
same
not even
page.
communication. I mean, we have a mutual understanding
Mhm.
that, okay, we're her parents, and
Yeah.
I try the best I can.
Right.
He tries as much as he thinks is the best.
Then the thing you have to do then is you just have to first of all you never badmouth her
No.
dad or their mom. Never. You say, well, I understand this is how dad does it at his house, but at my house this is how we do it, and you just continue to be consistent.
Well, not in
Yeah.
front of them anyways.
No, not at all,
No, but that's
because
how
it's not
you-
healthy for
That's
anybody.
how you tell them.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
yeah.
And it is hard and it's confusing for the kids, but if
Yeah.
you're honest about it and say, I know this is confusing, and no matter what age, you can have those honest conversations. I know this is confusing, I know mommy does this and this is why I do it. Dad does it a different way and I'm not sure why, but this is why dad does it. But at my house, we do this.
Yeah, because
And this is why.
she'll come home and she will just be emotional.
Mhm.
Sometimes she'll show emotion like being sad about everything, or she'll be angry. She
Yeah.
throws her tantrums,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I should discipline her, like to an extent where she's in trouble for
For
it.
throwing a
because-
tantrum or
Because
for,
I know she's emotional because of the situation. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do.
High tempered.
No,
Pardon?
she
What did
gets-
you say?
High tempered.
Oh
Oh.
yeah, she's very hot-headed. She throws tantrums. She'll like. She's 3. She's
Mhm.
gonna be 4 in October. She slams the doors. She hits the walls. She pulls her hair. She scratches
Oh, my.
herself. And I'm like, what in the heck am I doing wrong?
Well,
When
first
it comes to that.
First of all, we have to understand that it is damaging to kids to have to be
Mhm.
split and to have the two homes. I mean, it's just damaging and it's confusing and it's
Yeah.
hard. The best thing, like I said, is don't badmouth her dad or
No.
her mom, and you say, and you just when they are crying, you hold them until they're done. But if they throw tantrums, this is what I do with mine, because my kids are difficult because they've had to talk about confusing. I have a place for them to sit, time out or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. I say you sit right there until you're done throwing the tantrum. When you're done, then we can talk.
See, that's what I do.
Yeah.
But
Just
it
keep
works,
doing it.
and then 5 minutes later, it's the same thing.
Then she goes back.
So that's kind of where my chore thing came into effect, and it's helped my son a lot. My daughter's getting better at it.
What do you mean, giving him chores, or what do you mean to
It's
help him?
keeping him busy so he doesn't do that. It kind of
Okay.
keeps his mindset off
Okay.
of that and on this.
Okay,
Because
that's
he,
a good
he
strategy.
likes doing it, which
Mhm.
works for me because that means I don't have to stack them.
Mhm. So you give him, giving
I
him,
give him well, we call it a mission because he loves doing his own little wonderland.
I like
thing.
that,
So
yeah.
I'll give him something to do. He'll go do it, and that keeps him and her both from destroying my house.
Okay, so it gives them like a sense of mission or purpose. It
Yeah.
gives them something productive to do, and it lets them get out that energy. And you know how sometimes people say that when they're angry they have to hit something.
Mhm.
So what I hear is that this kind of gives him a way to channel or funnel maybe whatever he's feeling as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Positive outlet for the negative energy.
Yeah.
Because when I was his age, my outlet was going hunting and fishing with my uncle.
Okay.
That was pretty much it.
Right. Right.
Fishing.
Right. So giving them a productive job, letting them sit until they cry it all out, and then you can have a rational conversation as much as you can with a 3-year-old. I think they need lots of hugs and
Yeah.
and reassurance that you're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. But the important thing is you continue to do what you do consistently, and you can always provide the why. This is what we do, and this is why.
Mhm.
You know, so it's hard, but
Yeah.
but it's, as long as you're consistent and nurturing, and use some of these other strategies. I mean, I think that over time, she'll be okay. You just have the one, right?
Yes.
One.
God,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. I was smart and I stopped at one.
Right. The last.
Mine weren't planned either.
The last question I wanted to, well, I asked you if you guys have given any, I mean, if you have any things that you do, and so, I haven't heard from you though, Lydia. Are there some things that you do with your children that,
Pretty much the same thing with my 4 and 5-year-old. They have their own schedule. They bathe themselves, get themselves dressed, brush their own teeth, and all
Good.
that. So
good. excellent. So you're really creating that sense of
Yeah,
autonomy.
and my 1-year-old pretty much just spoil her. So.
Right, because you're building trust.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The bottom section here are just some absolute must-dos as we are raising our children, and so we can kind of look at these independently. First one is that we have to be present with them. And this is something I see today all the time. I'm out and about and I see the mom or the dad right here, and the kids are just,
Running
there's
mayhem all over the place.
no connection. And it's crucial, the relationship with their parents is crucial. And so I was reading something today that suggested that parents put the technology away until after bedtime or when the kids aren't around, but when they're with us, we need to be present with them. Second thing is talking with them, and it's just asking them questions. Stimulates their own verbal skills as well as thinking, and it's how they learn.
How was your day? How was school?
What did you learn? Right, exactly. What was your favorite part? What was a problem that you had today? Just whatever. Or just when you're driving, this is something my husband and I notice. We're driving and kids don't know how to get from one place to another anymore. You know what I mean? Used to be, when I grew up, I knew how to get everywhere, but now kids don't even look out the window.
I know, because they're all in their tablets or on the
Exactly.
TV in the car.
Exactly. So talking with them and just getting them to observe and notice things. Third thing, limit technology, and I love what you said about, did you say there was no TV?
I don't have a TV in my living room.
Right, and then, of course, the
They
fact,
don't use my phone at all.
perfect,
That's
yeah,
why.
right. We, our kids don't have cell phones, and they're in high school. And
That's good.
yeah, and they don't have video games. We did get a Wii for the family to use. It's out in the living room for the family to use, but they watch TV only after dinner, maybe an hour. But limiting technology is crucial. I say that as a parent, but also as a principal, and just from
Experience.
Get them a Pong machine.
It's so funny to me because my cousin who's 13, we went to the beach and we were just talking about technology and how much it's like advanced since we were kids. And I'm only 22, so that wasn't that long ago.
Right.
When I was like a kid her age.
Yeah.
And we used to like have to pull over on the side of the road, or like the passenger would have the map, not Google,
Right.
but like a paper map, and we
Yes.
would have to see where we
Yes.
were if we got lost.
Yes.
And then she's like, "What's a map?" At 13, she didn't know what a map was.
Or have you,
I'm
when you
like,
went to the
oh
beach, how
my
many people were on their
gosh.
phones there?
Yeah.
That's so true. Snapchat, everything. It's more important getting like that.
I'll be seeing people on their
The
phone at
internet
church.
satisfaction. What is it called when somebody gives you like self
Gratification.
gratification?
See what I do
It's ridiculous.
when we have our games for the kids is I'll throw the baseball towards the parent when they're not paying attention on their phone. And they'll get off the phone
When
like,
you're
sorry,
coaching out
foul
there.
ball.
Yeah.
And they'll stay off the phone because now they're going to keep an eye out.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think about parents that, what is the word to use? They say, "Oh, do this, and then you can have this."
Bribe.
That's bribing.
It's wrong,
Yeah.
in my opinion. In fact, I was at Smith's Bakery the other day, and there was this little boy is throwing this tantrum, and then he threw himself down on the ground, just he was like maybe 2 or 3, and the mom turned and said, "Give me an extra brownie."
Oh, heck.
And then
Instant gratification.
he stood up and she said, "Here, are you happy?" And I just went, "Oh my God."
That's not how you do that. That's not it. That's not the answer.
Right. No, that's
earn
not
it.
good. Yes.
My husband and I kind of struggle with that because I tend to be more like, okay, no, I said no, you're not getting that. And then especially with our girls, he'll kind of give in.
Ah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's,
My daughter.
That's where you and he need to be on the same page and
Yeah.
have those conversations. And,
we have. It's getting
that's good.
better, but
that's good.
They're gonna be like, "I'm gonna go ask dad."
yeah, that's how
Yeah.
it is. They're
Right.
really like that.
Go
They're
ask
like,
your dad. Then go. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
My husband and I have a lot of conversations outside of where the kids aren't around, and we talk about that. And we are committed. We are always on the same page. Whatever you say, I will back up, and vice versa. So
I think it's because we were raised like different. His parents are really like,
permissive.
yeah, no, they raised him really well. My
Oh.
parents weren't really there, so
Okay.
he has a different way of parenting than I do.
Oh, and that happens.
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
whether we're together or not, we bring two different styles. Yes, that's right. That's why those conversations are really important with him, so that you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Daily recaps.
Yeah. We have those all the time.
I
Like,
I kind of feel like people that come from like a troubled background or have lived like a harder version of life than people that have good homes and moms and dad and it's put like built together.
Mhm.
The people that have the tougher life kind of have more of a sense of independency
Yes.
and like respect and value when
Often,
it comes to like
sometimes, yes.
things and
Mhm.
yourself.
Yes.
Some, not all, but
Yes.
and then when it comes to raising a child, you're more harder on them, I guess,
Sometimes. Mhm.
than just to give them whatever and
Yeah.
they become self-entitled.
Yes.
'Cause-
It's interesting. I read a book that talked about the advantages of disadvantages
Mhm.
and then the disadvantages of advantages, because if you, in other words, if you're raised with all these advantages, that becomes a disadvantage because you grow up, like you say, to be very entitled. There's no
I feel like you deserve.
exactly. But then there is the advantages of growing up with disadvantages,
Mhm.
because then you grow up and say, wait a minute, I had to learn hard work, I had to learn independence, and that I will instill that in my own kids.
Yeah.
So something to be said about that too. The other things here, the number 4 is read. Very important that we read with them, or we read and they watch us read, or they have a time to read. My kids have to read 30 minutes before bed, and I have another friend who makes his kids read 30 minutes for 30 minutes of video game time,
Right.
or make one-to-one.
That's what I used to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but reading, and I say that as a principal and a parent, just crucial. We don't have kids don't read anymore.
I think
Yeah.
that is a really, really good one because like that is the best way to bond with them because it's also they're stimulating their mind at the same time as having some one-on-one time.
It's
You
nurturing.
can do it
Do they-
individually, you can do it as a group, it doesn't really matter because they're all gonna enjoy it.
Right.
Do they even have the reading groups at the libraries anymore? I remember when I was a kid, I used to go
Yeah,
like
I think
once
they
a week
do,
to the
yes.
little reading group.
In
And
fact, I saw something in a
Certain libraries.
paper about that
Mhm.
recently. So yeah, I think they do. Just call up I used to take my kids to the library
It's
all
all
the time.
empty in libraries now.
The one downtown, that
Yeah.
one, it
Beal?
only does it like once a week
Once a
or
week,
something
yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
But the one on Baker, they usually do it like twice a week. So
That's
it just depends.
what library is that?
That's always so fun for kids.
Well, one of the things I want to suggest, because I talked earlier about the fact that once the age of 5, that window closes, and so we adopted a couple of our children outside of that window, and so my husband and I, one of the things we did to kind of help recover some of the emotional deficits that they had was we read to them. Like Larry, when he came to live with us, even though he was kind of past that age, we would still sit down and read to him every night before he went to bed, as a way of kind of recovering and adding in some of that stuff he missed as a young boy. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So,
This is the bonding.
yeah. The next one is a shower with affection. Lots of physical and words, play with them. Sounds like you do that, especially with the coaching of the baseball. Model right behavior. Because like we said earlier, they do what we do. They watch us. And these are the things that are important to model: kindness, hard work, like you talk about, forgiveness, and apologizing. So like, for example, even when we make mistakes, which we do, when we apologize, that's huge for our kids. That's important.
Back in the day, we used to sum this up as manners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one to add. For example, it used to be that you had to remove your hat when you went indoors, and in schools still pretty much keep to that. But like when we go to church and we have some older people there, they get so offended when the younger kids don't remove their hats. And I mean, they've just never been taught, the kids, like the older kids. But it's just manners, being polite or doing things that.
Even the Pledge of Allegiance is gone.
Well,
They don't do that no more?
they do.
My son does it in kindergarten stuff.
They do, but I would say not as much. They forget about it, yeah.
because the generation now is so sensitive.
Thank you.
Well, it says God in the Pledge of Allegiance. You can't say that.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys on that. I think that we've gone way too PC and
Too many times I've had my little flag ripped off my antenna when I drive on
Really?
this side of town. Oh yeah,
really, that's too bad.
sucks.
Yeah, that's too bad. So, those may seem like little or big issues, being kind, hard work, forgiveness, apologizing, but very important.
The apologizing thing was a big one because I was taking care of 4 of them, so they were always getting each other upset or doing something on purpose to the other ones, like just to stealing their toy or whatever. And then, well, you took it from them. They had it first. You know they were playing with it. You took it straight out of their hands. You need to apologize to them
Right.
and give it back.
Right.
Because it was because I was raised with a lot of you got to show respect to other people.
Yes.
And that was what I was trying to give them. It's like, you gotta respect your brothers and sisters because there's a lot of people out there that ain't gonna respect any 4 of you.
Right.
So
Right.
you guys gotta be there for each other, so
Right.
love each other, apologize, be kind to each
Right.
other.
Right.
Because chances are when you go out in the world, ain't nobody else gonna do it but your brothers and sisters.
Right. I appreciate that. Teaching your kids to be each other's support.
Right.
That's good. That's family. The next one is discipline. Absolutely discipline them. And the key to that is consistency. We can't say one thing one day, not follow up the next day. We have to be consistent. With our kids, we have definite expectations, and they're really not that. Be kind, work hard, obey when your parents tell you to do something right away, and honor and respect your parents. I mean, that's basically it, and everything falls under that. And there have to be lots of positive reinforcement, but lots of consistent consequences. We have to discipline our kids, or they become undisciplined, right? They grow up to become hooligans, like you said.
I think a crucial part of every last one of these things on this must-do list is repetition as well. You gotta be repetitive with it every day, all day.
A lot of
It
times.
doesn't change. This is how it is.
But even sometimes, you can be raised like with all this. The parents can give everything this paper says, and the child still goes its own path and doesn't want any of that.
Yeah. I would imagine that, because a lot of times things look good on the surface from afar, but there's probably something missing or something that happened that caused that, number one. Or number two, you're right, people make their own choices. And that's hard as a parent when they get to be that adult age and you see them go off the wrong path. That's hard.
Well,
That's
they say
hard.
once you point the bow at the target, once you release the arrow, the arrow's gonna fly the way it's going.
One of the things my husband and I believe is that it's really our responsibility to help our kids find their way, to help them just determine what their life purpose is and what path they'll go to career-wise and things like that. And we do everything we can to kind of help them think about that, identify the skills they'll need, the education they'll need, or whatever, and then help them toward that way. Because remember, what's our goal as soon as they're born? Independent and out of the house.
Get out of here.
Number 9, and I already talked about this earlier, but it's important that we honor their other parent, whether we're married to them or not. The most important relationship in our child's life is the relationship between their parents. It's not your relationship to them, it's the relationship with the parent. Because there are a lot of messages they hear, see, and get by how we treat the other parent, whether we're with them or not. So that's something to think about. Crucial. And often if we don't like the other parent, we just don't say anything. Then just don't say anything. You know what I'm saying? It's best just not to say anything.
Because monkey see, monkey do.
Right. And then finally, the last one is be consistent, which goes along with what you said, be repetitive. But okay, so that was pretty much kind of what I wanted to share today. What does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see anything? Let me ask you these questions. Actually, I'm going to have you finish the statement. I will start doing, and I'm thinking about those are 3 statements I'd like you guys to finish. I should probably write it down, but the first one is I do blank in relation to what we talked about. The second one is I will start doing.
I was thinking about food the whole time.
That's fine.
Oh my gosh.
And the third one is I am thinking about, what has this made you think about, basically? So, you want to start? I do.
I'll go for it.
Okay, you can start.
The first one is I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate you teaching this class. It was very helpful.
Oh, well, thank you.
What was the second question?
I will start doing
I will start doing my best to hold a lot of these
with who?
with my future kids.
It's
Not yet.
good to think about it though, huh?
Yeah.
Make a plan, and I am thinking about.
And I am thinking about my future kids in this class.
Awesome.
So easy for him.
I know, right? Because he didn't have any kids. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. What is it?
I do.
I do think this paper is very informative,
Okay,
and I can kind of use it as a guide.
excellent.
What's the next one?
I will start doing.
I will start showing a little bit more of these absolute must-dos
Okay,
into our daily life.
okay.
And
I am thinking about.
I am thinking about my kids' future when it comes to some of this stuff, and how I can help it raise
Help.
them better.
Build it now, right? Good, thank you. All right.
Can we like come back to me?
Yes.
I don't
I'm
know.
out of input for the night.
Oh, you're spent.
I'm kind of spent. I'm tired.
Okay,
It's 4.
you worked hard, right? Well, let me ask you, was it helpful?
It was very helpful.
Okay.
You know,
Did it
between the
reinforce?
input of everybody in here who has and
Uh-huh,
wants to have,
uh-huh.
you know, it helps a lot between everybody.
Kind of reinforces some of the
Yeah.
things you're already
You know,
doing.
tips.
Mhm.
It's like
I
a
kind of
cheat
want to
bag.
ask something
Sure.
for everyone. You guys don't have
Sure.
to answer.
Okay.
But what is the hardest thing you will have to say for, you don't have a kid, but you can still answer because you're still human. What's the hardest thing like for, that you struggle with your kids? Mine would be my time.
Yeah.
Because
Meaning,
meaning like I'm out of the house by 7 a.m.
You need
and I'm
time
not
with them.
home till like 8. So, and I got off work early just to come here today because I wanted to come to this class.
so your struggle is time with your child.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when she goes to her dad's, I feel like, because I'm gone 8 to 9 hours a day, and then like on the weekend she's with her dad, I feel like I never see her, and when I do, it's just like,
Yeah.
it makes me sad.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hard.
It is so hard.
I
Really
think
agree
that
with
It makes me feel so guilty, like,
Oh,
oh
Like
my
you're
God.
failing them, and yeah.
Not failing them, but like I'm failing myself at what I think I should be doing.
Well, I don't have kids.
But everything's a sacrifice, right? I
Yeah.
guess that's what they say to make you think what you're doing is good.
So when do you spend time? Do you spend a little time with her?
Well, she wakes up early. She wakes up at like 6:30. But I usually make her breakfast and I have it ready by
sit
the
with
time she
her
wakes
and-
up. Yeah, I
Okay.
sit with her,
Okay.
and then my mom comes to watch her, and then I'm out of the house by then.
Okay.
But she gets her dressed and she bathes her.
Do you have a lunch hour?
Yeah, but I don't go home in that hour.
Is it not enough time to go home? Or
No,
too
because
far
I don't
away?
have a car, so
Okay.
if I did, I would drive. But
Okay.
and then I get home.
Is her mother ever able to come
My mom?
bring her to you? You said your mom watches her, right?
Yeah.
Is she ever able to bring her to you? At a
Yeah,
lunchtime?
she could, but she never has.
So it's a possibility. No?
Well, I mean, I work at a dental office, so it's kind of. I don't know if it was like a safe environment for her.
Are you able to step out of the office for that
Yeah, for the hour. Yeah.
I'm just thinking if there's a
Yeah, that's true.
McDonald's somewhere close by, or
Yeah.
just a thought. Anyway, and then when do you get home?
Depending on the day, I get home usually like at 7.
And she
some
goes to
days
bed what
8.
time?
She goes to bed at 8:30 or 9.
Okay. So you're exhausted.
But time management with her is hard.
Mhm.
You know, I never. Yeah, it's hard.
And then every weekend she's with her dad?
Used to be every weekend, but now it got to me where it's a little ridiculous because she comes home and her behavior is so out of whack that I'm
So
like
now it's what?
every other weekend.
Okay, so you do have every other weekend with her.
Yes,
Okay.
but that recently just started like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but that's good.
Yeah, and I've seen some change so far, but
Do you have any holidays or time off, vacation?
yeah, I have all the holidays off,
Okay.
all the major holidays.
So I guess the best that you can do is just that time that you have with her, breakfast, maybe lunch once in a while. If mom can bring her every other weekend and the holidays, you just make the most of that time.
Yeah.
And don't feel guilty.
I know.
Because you're working hard to support your daughter.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty. Just when you have that time with her, be present.
Yeah.
Engage with her, and it's hard because we're tired, but she'll be okay.
I think that what he does with his kids, you should do with yours, because he involves them in the task that he's
Yeah.
doing personally.
Mm.
So involve them in whatever you're doing, like if you're sitting there, you're cooking like
Well,
dinner for them, then
Yeah,
have
she
them help
helps me with
that.
all that.
That's a
but-
good suggestion.
I'm right there with you with the time crunch. I get off at
Oh
4
my
every day,
gosh, yeah.
and they go to bed at 7.
I feel like every
Period.
parent is
I don't let
really,
them stay up past that.
yeah,
Maybe 7:30 on the weekends, but that's pretty rare.
yeah.
So
But
how do you spend time with them? Just
when I get off work, I always go pick them up, and then we just go straight home. We cook dinner,
involve
shower,
them in the tasks with
and
you.
then if I have to go outside to yard work, it's what we do.
Okay, that's a good
And then-
suggestion.
Weekends are the best though.
Yeah, I don't work weekends, so
Yeah, weekends are the best.
we do whatever we want on weekends.
Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't
Do
sleep.
you guys
in
have any
over-
other questions or struggles? Because she kind of posed that to the whole group. Are there any other questions that you want to ask or struggles or anything?
No, I'm just right there with you with the time.